Welcome to today's conversation. My name is Nick, my pronouns are they, he, and I'm a co-host for reconnect.
And hi, I'm Adjoa-Sinead, pronouns they, she, and I'm part of Black British LGBTQ.
Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about something that we rarely speak about: pre-colonial queer African history. Now, a lot of us grew up thinking that queerness is un-African. But Adjoa, is that really the case?
That's one of the biggest lies we've been told.
Exactly, one of the biggest lies that we've been told. Today we're going to get into the real history, how colonialism changed these things and what Black queer individuals are doing to reclaim the identity. And massive shout out to the African Centre for hosting us today, and Black Thrive and Black Queer and Thriving for collaborating. Okay, so before we get into the discussion, we're going to play a couple of games. Adjoa, what's the first game we're playing?
Okay, so it's called Song Association. So I'm going to give you one word, and you have like 15 seconds to sing a song that has that word in.
Okay.
You got it?
Oh, we'll see.
We shall see, you've got this. Okay, cool. So your first word is wall.
Hey, hold on. Don't grab the wall.
Hey.
Let go. Don't grab the wall. Let go.
Hey. What?
Don't grab the wall.
Hey. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if that's a real song, but I trust
It
you.
was with JT.
Is it?
Justin Timberlake.
Oh, I thought you meant JT as in like City Girls. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, tight. Okay, well done. We got to see it. The next word is bird.
I'm like a man. I'm like a man.
Hey.
I don't know where my son is.
Hey. Okay, cool. And your next word is, what is around me? Love.
Oh. You should let me love you. Let me be the one to give you everything you want and need.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, good love and protection. Make me a selection. Okay.
No, you that was you. Okay.
Now that me and Adjoa are warmed up, it's time to get into the discussion. And we're going to talk about something that I think is spoken about quite a lot. We hear it in our communities, we hear it in politics, and we hear it online. Essentially, that queerness is un-African. But is this the real history? Is this what we're actually seeing?
Definitely not. It's one of the biggest lies we've been fed. But you know what, before we actually get into the topic as a whole, I just want to make sure that we're not doing something I see quite often, which is like talking about Africa as if it's a country. It's a continent, a massive continent with over around 54 countries, and each with like their own cultures. So yeah, that's one thing we're not about to do. Like what happens in Ghana is not the same that it's going to happen in Kenya or Ethiopia or South Sudan, etc. So yeah, that's one thing we're not about to do.
Another thing I think is important to say is right now we are filming in Southern, in the United Kingdom, right? Our perspectives are ones of Black British individuals. And I think it's so important that we recognize that as Black British individuals, we can only speak from this experience and this perspective. And we want to bring the audience in to also contribute to this conversation. So definitely, I want to see your comments down below. But please, 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 we want to recognize that this is a perspective of Black British individuals, and we can only speak from such. So, Adjoa-Sinead, what got you into researching this? Like, what was the thing that made you go, no, hold on. This ain't adding up.
Yeah, I love that question. You know what? One day I was actually like researching about like global LGBTQ+ rights, like across everywhere. And then I noticed that like a lot of the anti-LGBTQ+ laws were in African countries, and including countries like Ghana, where I'm from. So I was like, wait, what's going on here? So yeah, I started researching into it more. And actually, when I went to university, I got to study politics, philosophy, and economics. It's reloaded. Politics, philosophy, and economics. And I did this module called like Africa and Global Politics. And it had like explored different myths when exploring like politics related to Africa, like how people talk about it. So one of the parts of that I actually got to explore was around like sexuality and gender, and I was like, I am in my place. Yes. Yeah, so I got to like understand a lot more about it, which was so cool. And especially as like a queer Ghanaian, like it helps me understand my identity a lot more. So yeah, that's the start of it. And then also my dissertation was actually about how LGBTQ plus discrimination in Ghana affects the economic development and economic growth. So I said, let me get into it.
Come on, come on, and so why do you think that this is important for us as Black queer individuals in the UK?
I think it's important to reclaim our histories and to understand like what actually has happened throughout time, because with that knowledge we're able to kind of like combat the lies that we've told. So yeah.
Right, understand our truth essentially.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So like even the laws, the first laws that were passed in Ghana, for example, against homosexuality was actually introduced through British colonialism. So it's not actually like the import of queerness to Ghana, it's actually the queerphobia like that started the first state sanction.
Okay, let's address reload that one.
Reload it.
Yeah, reload that one about pre-colonial laws. What was that? Say that one again.
The first laws against queerness in Ghana was actually introduced through British. Yeah. Not Ghanaian. So yeah, that's it's adding to the point that I think it's more so the queerphobia was like in more than queerness itself. And also if you think about it, like if you need to put a law to prevent people from being queer, maybe there was queerness before that. I mean logically, maybe. So
1 + 1 is equal to 2.
Yeah, that part, yeah. So an example of this is actually King Mwanga II of Buganda. He actually ruled from 1884 to 1897 in the late 19th century, and it's actually documented that he had same-sex relationships, and this is before colonial rule was firmly established by the British. So it's like another example about how queerness has existed before British colonialism. So I mean, if you want a big example, talk about King Mwanga II. Yeah. Especially because he was actually the last Kabaka, so the king of Uganda.
The next thing that I kind of want to ask is, how exactly has colonialization messed up queer people's lives in African society?
That's a question and a half, because listen, like there were actual roles before colonization that queer people had that were like specific for them. Yeah. So let me tell you about my favorite example. We have Queen Nzinga who ruled in the 17th century. Over in Ndongo, I think it's right, in Matamba. So what's now known as Angola. So this was around the time that the Portuguese were progressively expanding their control and trying to dominate like Ndongo, which we hate to see. There were also gender non-conforming individuals who were said to have like dressed more femininely. Now from some of the records, the Portuguese noted them down as like concubines, but it's possible that they didn't fully understand what their roles were.
Right.
So they could have like had roles that were more specific, if we're specific to spirituality. Some examples of like queerness within her core, but Queen Nzinga herself is actually said that she preferred to be called like king instead of queen. It said that in some of her rituals, she took on traditionally masculine identities. So I mean, there's like 3 different examples of how gender was like more fluid within that one space in history.
You were speaking about the idea that we have a lot of oral history and how this essentially different way of recording things has been lost, because now in the mainstream, or at least the ways that academics record things is on paper and so it's written. And I think that form of storytelling is lost. I can even think back to my childhood learning about different mythologies and stuff, and Nancy the spider and stuff like that. These stories that we have are a great way of passing things down. And as you're saying, that impact of colonialism has kind of watered down these important histories, important ways of recording our history. So why wouldn't we know about the queerness within Africa if the ways that we
have recorded, the ways that we record, the ways that we remember our ancestors, remember the things, our traditions, is essentially we're told that it's unnatural, it's uncivilized, it's not the right way of doing things. So it makes sense.
Honestly, 1,000%. That's a really good point. Yeah. And I feel like, especially if, like, even if people did have that knowledge, like, around the time of colonization, if it's demonized to such a point that people would feel like uncomfortable to even continue to share that. So that's probably another way that it got lost. So yeah, I definitely hear it. That's the hard part about like trying to understand the pre-colonial African queer history, is because like a lot of the evidence that is found for like the different accounts that we've come up with is through like the colonizers' records, which in itself is actually really hard to come by, especially because like it would be through their lens and not actually like how like different people would have seen themselves at that time. I think even like the language, like men dressed as women and stuff like that, like we unfortunately won't even have like the proper language to see like how they would prefer to identify. So that in itself sucks. Yeah.
So are you saying that essentially there was no queerphobia within African society?
You're asking the questions today. Okay, yeah, you know what? Because we are like more conscious of like not trying to homogenize Africa as if it's one entity, we can't speak for every single like African society for colonialism and say that like discrimination against certain people wasn't present. Especially because like when it comes to differences, just in general, then there does tend to be conflicts that comes up. So one thing we can say though is that through British colonialism, like that's where the state sanctioned queerphobia actually came in. It's important to talk about how Christianity, especially like through British colonial rule, like added the moralization of queerness. So it probably turned from it just being a difference to, okay, this is now a difference that is bad or inherently bad. There we go.
So we've kind of spoken about storytelling kind of in and out of this conversation. I guess I was just wondering, let's go into how queerness is reflected in African film and literature. Because growing up, to be perfectly honest, I didn't see much.
Do you know what's sick, honestly? I feel like recently I've seen like more pieces of art pop up around like queerness and like Africanness, which is like amazing to see. Have you seen Jipa by Swanaga? It's an amazing like short film. I think it was made like in the last 5 years, and it's actually centered around like somebody trying to understand like their current identity they live here, and like there's like a naming ceremony, and it's basically also a way that like queer people today have like reclaimed like one of our Caribbean traditions for ourselves. So especially like people trying to understand your identity now in terms of like gender, sexuality. People can like choose different names for themselves, and it's like a way that you're accepted into your family. There's such a beautiful film. So there's also Mwanga, which is also by somebody called Adjoa-Sinead Ntifo, and it explores like queerness within Ghana itself. But one thing I love about this is actually it's from like people era, and that's actually like my tribe, and I don't see anything to do with other people, let alone like queerness to everything. So like when I saw it, it's my country. Yes. So I definitely recommend this too.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna check it out. For me, the only thing that I've seen quite recently is Rafiki, which is a Kenyan queer film, and I knew I wanted to watch this film, and I decided the perfect time to watch it was when I was on a plane in front of a bunch of people. So here's me sobbing. Profusely, because it was just such an amazing film. And I think I needed to see that.
I remember watching that a couple of years back. I need to rewatch it, but it was so powerful, honestly. Yeah, so I feel like these are not only like amazing pieces of art in itself and like enjoyable to watch and connect with, but they're also like forms of resistance as well, to say that we exist, like there's nothing that you can do about it, it will always exist. So yeah.
So if there's one thing that people can take away from this whole conversation, what do you think it would be?
Honestly, there is so much information out there to start to understand Pre-Colonial African Queer history. So I'd say take your time, Google with your friend, and there's also some amazing resources that you can look into. So one, I'd say like The Invention of Women, by Oyoromi. Try my best, sorry. Yeah, and this is actually about like how Western gender categories were imposed on European societies. She mainly talks about like how European society originally had a more fluid understanding of social roles that weren't actually based on biological sex, but more on like lineage and seniority. So yeah, I would also recommend the book Boy Wives and Female Husband, which is basically a collection of essays about like non-heteronormative queer identities throughout history.
And where can people go to learn more about some of the people you've been collaborating with, organization, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely check out Black Pride on Instagram and X and all the social medias. I would definitely write them down so you can see at the bottom of this page. Make sure that you check out the African Centre and the amazing work that they're doing. The Chakula Programme is definitely also an amazing group to look into. And we also have Black Reconnect. So we're a group that tries to empower Black LGBTQ plus adults throughout the UK through events, Black Reconnect groups and resources. And one of our main resources is actually a part of Black History series, which you can find on Instagram and TikTok.
And to everyone watching, what's a piece of African history that you know about today? Or that you know? Drop it in the comments below. None of you. It was me. Yes, it was me. He's like,